So in this hand, the under the gun player opens for 20. Happens to be the same player who we just battled in the previous hand. He has switched seats, and we look down at pocket aces. Put in the 3-bet, we're in the hijack, we make it $65 to go. Folds back to the initial raiser who calls. Flop, pretty favorable I'd say. Flop is ace 10 8, 2 hearts. So we flop top set on a pretty wet board actually. Under the gun player checks, and sometimes I will certainly look to check back a flop that we have absolutely crushed, such as top set. Blocks a lot of their calling range, but with the board being this wet, flush draws, many straight draws available, potentially some top pairs, some top pair hands as well. This time I decide to c-bet, make it $85. Interesting news from the initial raiser, he puts out a check raise. He makes it $240. Once again, it's one of those spots where I actually don't think there's too many options. I think flat call here is pretty much always best. It depends on the player. It could be a little bit player dependent, and I know there's people out there that will advocate for a 3-bet, but I don't know. For me, it's just always a call here. So if you have other opinions, feel free to share, but I decide to flat call. Turn is another 8, so top boat for us. Pretty good card, I would say. Not only that, but the under the gun player continues betting. He bets $330 this time. Pretty similar situation. I think we have about $800 effective behind. I think that's about how much my opponent has, and we cover him, so somewhere around 800 behind. We obviously are not worried about any cards on the river, but there could be some cards that come on the river that could kill some action. So of course there's always merit to some other options here, but calling here to me just seems best. So I flat call. River is a total brick. River is an offsuit 3. This time he checks. Little disappointing, because if he was bluffing, that means he has shut down with his bluffs. If he's not bluffing, if he wasn't bluffing, if he somehow had ace 10 or pocket 10 and is trying to induce a bluff, obviously we can still try and go for the max here. So I just decided to jam all in with what little money is behind compared to the pot size. Seems like a jam is reasonable. You could also make a case for betting a little bit less than the jam, just so it's not the verbal declaration of all in. I decided to go for the max, jam all in there. My opponent thinks for a while, eventually decides on a fold, unfortunately. So we don't get the last value bet. Certainly some merit to sizing smaller. Decided to go for the max, and didn't work out this time, but scoop a decent one, scoop a decent sized pot there.